Do we have any other local officials that want to introduce themselves? Yes, sir.
I'm Tim Cummings. I'm on the Escondido Township Board of Trustees. I am the voting representative of the township to discuss and have worked with the Air Force on this water problem. I was one of the assemblies that Mr. Reed referred to earlier when we were meeting with the Air Force, and we were then asked not to come to the meetings, and for the one that this morning took place, that was what we were with that. The route. I'm Tim Cummings, Escondido Township Board of Trustees. I'm the person who will be representing the township on the route that you heard so much about this evening. So this has been a topic for me since I requested from the board last October to be made the designee. So I'll be carrying this for us. Much of the information that Mr. Reed presented is something that we've been working on and discussing for some time. It is a situation, and I think everyone should understand that. I did have a question at some point that I think I'd like to interject here, if you wouldn't mind. It's a point that I think everyone might help understand. There's no representative here, and never has been a representative at this meeting from the EPA. I'd like to have someone from this committee or board that is talking explain what is the grounds or process in which the EPA uses in order to establish the 70 parts per trillion health advisory threshold.
Okay, so the question is, how did EPA come up with 70? So I was looking over, because Aaron had asked me, and several other people had asked me too, why are there different numbers floating around out there? New Jersey's is 14 for PFOA. EPA's is 70 for PFOA plus PFOS. Vermont has the emergency rule that then became part of their regular law for 20 for PFOA. It's all over the place. Yes, scientists disagree on more than just climate change. So, so to talk a little bit about how I looked a little more closely at EPA's methodology and also New Jersey's methodology. So the critical effect, that's what we toxicologists do when we look at the data that tells us about what chemicals can do to body systems. And the critical effect that EPA felt was the most sensitive effect was developmental toxicity, which is harm that occurs to a fetus or infant. So it could be exposure in the womb or shortly after birth as they're breastfeeding. So the effect that they were seeing is what's called delayed ossification, and these were in mice. So that means there's the delay of the laying down and the hardening of the bone in these animals. And there's a concern that that could be something that's applicable to humans. So they used that as their effect, and also had concerns for a delay of puberty in the male mouse pups. So that's what they used as their level, and then they came up with the research findings for that. They came up with what they figured what would be a reference dose. The reference dose is the fancy, I'm going to try to condense the fancy definition for it. But it is a daily dose considered to be without harm to the human population, and it's within what they call an order of magnitude. An order of magnitude is 10 times. So the real safe dose could be 10 times higher, it could be 10 times lower. But they are aiming within that zone that is an acceptable dose, that no harm would consider to be happening to a person exposed, like through drinking water, to that amount over a lifetime. And so the number that EPA came up with, just for the dose, it's not a drinking water concentration, but working its way towards that 70, was 20 nanograms. Remember I talked about nanograms per liter and the water concentration. So nanograms, which is a billionth of a gram per kilogram. A kilogram is about 2.2 pounds per day per person. That is, those are the units that a dose are. I just want you to remember the 20. So then I looked at New Jersey. I was thinking, well, did they choose the same study? Did they choose the same effect? They actually felt that there was another study showing more sensitive effects, and I believe it was a rat study showing effects to the liver. And that actually ended up in a lower dose. So their number, EPA's number for a reference dose, was 20. The New Jersey number came down to 2. That's a difference of 10, and you know that the difference between 70, EPA's drinking water number, and New Jersey's drinking water number, which is 14, that's a difference of 5. Well, there were other parts of the equation that go into getting to 70 or to 14. If they use the exact same amount, like the exact same, what we are calling exposure factors, or essentially how much a person weighs, how much they drink, blah, 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 the EPA considered a pregnant female who would normally drink more than the average person. So essentially, instead of being 10 times different, it's just 5 times different. That does sound like a big difference in the real world. In the toxicology world, which is a different real world, it's not the unreal world, it's not a fake world, it's just a different world than this room full of people. But in toxicology, that's not too big a difference. That is still within what we call that order of magnitude. So, if we look at the New Jersey number, we consider order of magnitude, so 10 times. New Jersey is 14, 10 times that is 140. EPA number is still within that. So it's still, I'm throwing a lot of this out there and talking a lot of toxicology speak. But what it comes down to is that scientists can come up with different conclusions with very logical science arguments reaching those conclusions. And I'm reading more and more about the differences between EPA and New Jersey. It is possible that the numbers could come down in the future for EPA. It is possible that the number could go up in the future for New Jersey. The draft numbers that are out there for the Michigan drinking water criteria, as far as the 80 and 90 that Aaron talked about, those could change too. Or it's possible that the whole criteria process that's going through promulgation right now will be thrown out, like it has been many times in the past. And we will go back to where the numbers were before. And the numbers for PFCs before for Michigan did not exist. So this is the beginning for that. So yes, there's disagreement among scientists, but either way, these are really low concentrations in water. You've heard about wells being tested for arsenic. Those are in parts per billion. If you convert the arsenic drinking water, the arsenic MCL, which is maximum contaminant level, so it's a regulated number in public drinking waters, that is 10 parts per billion. That is 10,000 parts per trillion. So there is no doubt that health and regulatory agencies are seeing PFCs as a concern. Where that number ends up may be important for the cleanup programs. But from a public health aspect, we still have concerns about exposure. I probably could stay here a couple more hours if you want to talk about the details, but I think I want to leave it as that, at that, as far as where some of this information is coming from. And just don't reach up into the sky and say, what sounds like a good number? 70? I don't know. I would probably, if I were going to go for a good number, I'd say 50, maybe 100, something that's easy to calculate. 70? They've got it written down, they've got the documentation. 14, they've got the documentation. And I think, I can talk more about it, but I don't want to take the time on that tonight. There's so many things more to ask questions about, and we'll try to focus some more on that.
For those of you that got a little bit lost in Chris's last explanation, I sit in a cube right next to her. She has to explain things to me all the time. I get a daily dose. By request, though. I just wanted to talk to you for a minute about another little group that we would like to form. I'm talking about the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. As I mentioned, I'm a health educator, and I work with Chris and other toxicologists in our unit. And we are putting a request out to the community who live here, who have lived here, to help us with our communication to you. We would like a small group of you to volunteer to meet with us with MDHHS and take a look at our communication plan and tell us what we've got right in it. We just updated it, so it's a new draft. We would like to know what we've got right in it, what we've got wrong in it, how we can reach out to you better, how we can better address your concerns, what your concerns are. And so this is going to be just a really informal group. If you're interested in being on a board, this is not it. Think about the RAB. It's just a small group of people that will meet several times. Maybe we'll decide to keep meeting on into the future. But we just want to know more about how we can help you communication-wise. This is not the cleanup process. This is just getting information out to you and learning more about what you want from us. So if you think that's something that you might be interested in, we'll come up and meet with you. Love coming up here. I'm from Alpena, so I never mind coming up here. Talk to Laura over here. She's got some cards. You can give us your name, phone number, email, contact on the card. Hand it to me, hand it to Chris. Again, it's just a really small group of people we like to work together. That's something you think might have for you to communicate with us, like to share information with us, please consider it. If you just want to know more information about what we're asking about, just write in your card and need more information. That's fine too. We'll be glad to meet you. Yes, sir.
I'd just like to ask for maybe one suggestion if I could. I'm not just way long after that serving. I came, from my home in Virginia to get educated on what's occurring. The sign that your department to public health, Mr. Weed just made a great point about who's affected by this. You have obviously the folks who live here and have lived here, and you have the folks who traveled and visited here and so on and so forth. A sign or a placard that you have speaks 1,000 words above and beyond what it says there. You've got veterans up there in the corner, almost obscure and out there in the periphery. And I guarantee you, those young men and women that serve in that base have been or are experiencing or wanting to understand what they're experiencing in their health. And I think it's right and proper that you actually, expand the affected circle there to include maybe a global type of context. maybe you put in little bullets that include veterans, tourists, so on. Because otherwise you're saying they're obscure, they don't matter. That's my take on what I'm seeing in that briefing slide. And thank you. I concur with what Mr. Weed said. In the time I got to spend with you, you're a sharp lady.
Thank you for that comment. Oh, we know these meetings are really long, and we so appreciate you coming. Don't leave. You can leave if you want. I take that. The last time I started saying something like this, a lot of people got up and left. We still have a question and answer session coming up. And I just want to say before we get there, because some of you are trying to hear.
Let's do it.
Want to go. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for all of your questions and your comments. Even if you think you don't want to hear them, you do. So let's begin the question and answer session. We'll stay as long as you'd like. However, please, let's not repeat questions. If it's already been asked, please don't ask it again. And could we have Chris, please, at least somebody so they can answer questions. Let's start with you, sir. And we have one microphone.
That's all right, I'll be on.
Yeah,
This is
please.
more of an interesting, when I got my RO installed, the guys that were putting it in, I said, well, when do you have to change the filter? He says, 1 year. And he said, we will notify you. So I don't know, I haven't gotten the call yet because I got the phone once or whatever ago. They will call, according to what he said, on a 1 year basis. And if there's funds that he paid for or paying for it now that it's come about, I guess, it will be taken care of. That's all I have to say.
Through Senator Thomas, we were able to secure the funding for the cartridge replacement and to continue the bottled water, the cooler systems. And that started 3.5 months ago in conversations because we knew when we originally put them in, we told you we may not have funding to do that. So he did find the money at the state level, and he's sending that money to DHD2. And Terry from Culligan could not be here tonight.
Oh, darn.
So we're going to set up the process because I know he knows the exact dates. We do too with the dates we put them in. And part of the release that the attorneys talked about with the filter system is that you do have to change the cartridge or you could maximize the exposure to the chemicals if you didn't change it. And so that was a key part of the filter system. And it's really a big relief to find Chris's scientific data how well the filter systems are working for us. So Senator Stamas has made that funding available. Yesterday at noon is when I got the thumbs up. It's for sure coming for our residents here. And we do have residents, because of being in seasonal homes, that have pending. They filled out all the paperwork, and as soon as they get up here this spring, they'll get their first one. So we'll be having a concentric circle of people that need cartridge replacements and people still getting on filter systems. And I think that comes back to the concentric circle of the partners that we were talking about. The veterans just came up in the last town hall meeting as we figured out the fire hydrant water and the pieces of that. So it wasn't a spectrum of who's important, who's not. The whole piece is to recognize there's a lot of agencies that need to partner together to find remedies. And the next one is there's groups we don't know about as this continues to evolve. And so we want to be proactive with that. We'll take the feedback back. I don't want to make one color better than the other or one side better. But the most important thing is to realize, it started with 24 families being affected. And it is much larger scale than that. And it's going to take every one of the partners to work together to get the remedies on this. And it's just the right thing to do because we all we deserve that clean water. But we also need to continue to follow through on the study and the data that's emerging. So there's a couple parallel work plans that need to happen in order for us to comprehensively address this. You are so important. Your input, your perspective, and the stories at the open house that I hear, it's really what motivates us because it is tough to do town hall meetings. And I've talked to other people that haven't done one yet in their community, and they have it. And this is our fourth one, and connecting with you is so important, so I appreciate that. And we use your input to keep working towards not just the short term, but the long term value.
Yes. Are we going to end up running out of eventually, or are we just going to be coming forever and ever and ever and ever? Yeah. I mean, is it come to a point where they're done?
We'll all be dead. Unless we treat them, unless we control them. So all the questions here tonight about going after the sources, digging that up, or doing something with the sources, you got to do that. You got to pump and treat the water because they're not going to break down. The only thing they will do is they'll just dilute, but that's that'll take forever to do that. So there has to be aggressive approaches to these to get them out of the environment.
Which is good, except that how quick are we going to do this? We would just had the 30-year anniversary of adding any water that they can drink. So how aggressive can we work on this so that we're not split?
Right. Well, as everybody's mentioned, extending water to people is the fastest, most effective thing we can do as far as eliminating pollution.
I wanted to ask you, what was the timeline of installing your water when you saw the areas?
Like Senator Stamus is, he's gotten some money to do various things. They've gone and got the grants. It's really a matter of money and finding that money to do those extensions. So, yeah, so
you're talking about the areas already that are already money
Yeah, forest fire.
Yeah, if Ann mentioned it.
yeah, and probably has as good of idea as anybody else.
Construction is something that she said.
I understand it said that the airport has determined that it will not be complying with Senator Stanis' bill to have to reimburse the state for funding. I have two questions. One, can you explain that at all? And the second question is, are there other areas of disagreement between the state and the airport? And everything. We work well together, but we do have disagreements.
Thank you for that. On the statement concerning the bill, what is the state law? The Air Force cannot comply with the law because it is discriminatory. It does not apply equally to all citizens of the state, and it singles out the state and the DOD. So therefore, that's what we're told from our legal folks that is why the Air Force cannot comply with that. He did comment when the law was drafted, DOD commented when the law was drafted that could be a problem. Evidently that wasn't fixed in the final version.
Concerning the extension of the water line again, I believe Aaron mentioned that his estimate now is $4 million, and we received a $500,000 grant from Washington. So there's $3.5 million that aren't accounted for yet. Are the citizens of Oscoda going to be assessed that amount of money on taxes and so on?
No.
To put in the rest of that line?
No.
Where's that money coming from? I
Yeah, and that is what,
Answer that, thank you.
no, and that is what Ann Richards was referring to when she spoke before this review. She was describing who's funding that they're looking for.
Okay.
There's still very aggressive work occurring to try to get that money lined up, especially when you put it into context with what Mr. Weed said then later when he said his estimate was the 7,000, and that he really wanted to do it the way he thought it would be ideal, which would then give everyone the opportunity to connect for free and blah, blah, blah. So there's a different budget involved there. So it's just the scope of the work is going to be dictated by the money that we we're looking to get that covered.
Thank you.
As manufacturers of the foam itself, does 3M have any liability or responsibility? Or should they?
There are no lawyers up here. I know that 3M has been sued in other situations. I do not know. I cannot say what the legalities are in regard to that. I'm sure that there are lawyers who would be willing to try to tackle it for the people who feel they've been impacted by it.
Okay. Back in the, I was at the base from 74 to 79. Back in 1979, there was a huge trichloroethylene leak at the jet engine shop. They also found trichloroethylene plumes along the Arrow Street First area. In the bulk storage area, they had J4 leak. They don't know when it started. Seasonal fluctuations in the well produced J4. I understand the thing we're working on now. My concern too is, did they completely do away with these other plumes, or are they being worked on alongside?
Yeah, they've been working on those plumes for years, and it was to the point where there was a remedy in place for every site except for 3 or 4. So they were treating those wells. They went out where that fuel would show up in the wells. They went out and actually did what's called sparging. They ran air underneath it, and it went away really quite fast. Right now we're talking about the pump and dump. Well, what was happening was there was those chlorinated plumes, VOCs, and they would put it through what's called a stripper. They put it up, run it down through so air could go through the stuff and strip those contaminants out. Well, it got to the point where the water coming into the wells was so low that the water in the wells was being sucked up and didn't need to go through this treatment plant anymore. They could just dump it straight to the lake, or into the creek. That's why they got that. That system never touched the PFASs. All along, PFASs were going straight into the creek. And so nothing changed when they said get rid of the strippers, other than that saved taxpayer dollars. Didn't improve the situation with PFASs. It didn't make it worse. Same situation.
I might add that the Air Force has been working with DEQ for 27 years on these remediations. We have 21 sites that have not been completely closed yet at Portsmouth. 17 of those we're doing active remediation on. So it's just not PFAS PFOA we're dealing with. It's been these plumes, it's been these sites for years and years, including those in landfills and what have you. So we've been here working with DEQ on all of it.
That actually was 1978, 79.
1979.
Fish have not been tested since 2012. When are you going to test the fish again in
I am not exactly sure when the Netton Lake would fall on the schedule for fish sampling. So the question was as far as fish haven't been sampled since 2012, and when is Netton Lake on board for resampling? The sampling that showed back in 2012 was, yes, there were PFCs getting into the fish tissue, However, the concentration of the PFCs in the fish tissue were less of concern than mercury and PCBs that have been detected in previous samplings of the fish there. So actually the information that's on the fish in Manhattan Lake is protective of mercury, PCBs, and PFCs as far as our, what we call our Eat Safe Fish guidelines for that. When it should be sampled again, I don't know. I can speak with the people who handle that part of the program in our office. However, given the concentrations that we're seeing in there compared to the concentrations that we're seeing in Clark's Marsh, I mean, we're not testing Clark's Marsh again for quite some time. So that will be.
Let me give them a better answer.
So that's a pull on your leave surely today. But good question. Let me find out more about it as far as the people in my office who deal with the scheduling of that and when they go back out to that.
What about the testing that was done on the sandbar? What were the results
Oh,
of that?
Bob will talk to that.
First, they'll tell you that the Air Force, we're putting pressure on the Air Force to sample those fish. She's talking about our Eat Safe program, and they have a regular schedule that they go to these lakes that are contaminated, but we want the Air Force to be out there sampling. I'm sorry to throw all under the bus, but we've been talking this for a while, so Eat Frank is coming. So we want them to be monitoring how the fish are doing in response to their cleanup program and even prior to the cleanups going on, so that we know how well these systems are affecting the fish. And ultimately, they will most likely end up doing ecological studies, but we would like them to start immediately. So. Do you want to sandbar? And the sandbar. We're just waiting for the data to come in from that. It should be in this week or next week.
So are you looking at waterfowl, the deer, rabbit, any of that?
We do have interest in the deer, but we do not have the support to go forward with the analysis of that yet. Now we could probably get some deer through through regular harvests that could happen during the hunting program, or we could get special permits to go out and get deer. We want to be specific to the Clark's Marsh area, because you might as well look at the worst area first to see if there's an impact on them. One thing I've been talking with my supervisor about is, and he was a couple of jobs ago, he was in charge of the Eat Safe Fish program in our office. And he has talked about that because we are an industrialized state, pretty much any hunting that you do, lay off the liver. The liver is the filtering organ in our bodies, and that is, Bob's team has taken, well, they've looked at liver and fish. They've also harvested a couple. It's not a big number, so statistically, hard to say how valid it is, but a couple of muskrat from Clark's Marsh, and they checked the liver on that. And that is probably the first stop and the highest concentration that you're going to find in animals that are exposed to this. So that, if you are a hunter who likes to eat the liver of your animals, and I just can't even think about that, period. But if that is what you like to do, I would suggest not. But yes, we do want to check it out. As far as the waterfowl, that's a maybe, because waterfowl come and go. Now, we do have probably waterfowl who are year-rounders, or at least for the season on Clark's Marsh. I would not expect them to be as impacted, say, if they were seasonal or year-round on Manhattan Lake, like they would be on Clark's Marsh. It's kind of along the same line as the fish question that was asked earlier. You asked it too. As far as sampling the fish again, would not expect to see, and plus you probably don't have hunting on Gwinnett Lake.
Correct.
Do you? We don't hunting?
Yeah.
You do not? Good to know that. Okay, well, we can keep that in mind, but I think that the key one is going to be deer in the Clark's Marsh area. I think that that's a key animal to check out.
Can I ask what the Air Force reluctance is to test the fish?
We have primary goal of protecting the health and drinking water, first of all. The fish has already been addressed at Clark's Marsh as far as testing. Fish advisory has been issued. The Air Force has built the pump and treat system to remove the PFAS and PFOA from entering Clark's Marsh. It's going to take some time. However, that system's been built with coordination with NDEQ. So fish is back on our priority list behind human health and drinking water.
Excuse me, Bob, can you explain what the sandbar was that you answered about?
Oh, okay. One of the questions is whether, how the flumes got underneath the lake. We had all the other flumes that we'd ever seen at the base stopped at the lake. And then really we were sampling on the other side just to make sure, residents were concerned that maybe it was getting on the other side of the lake, so we didn't think it happened, but we went ahead and sampled it anyway, and sure enough, it was over there. So with the dam lowered and the water level lowered, you get those big sandbars out there. You guys are familiar with it. So we were able, it's solid enough you can take a drill rig out on those. So we took a drill rig out on those to punch holes to see if there was contamination below the lake. We're confident there is, but then still understanding the process of how it gets over there. We're going to also be doing some fun stuff, geophysics. The guys look for oil, they use geophysics. We're going to be looking for clay, trying to see where the bottom of that aquifer is this summer as well.
Which sandbar?
Well, the one we were able to get out on was on the east side of the lake.
Interstate and
Interlake?
Interlake.
Interlake and Woodland, right there's a boat ramp we went out there.
Yeah.
So you didn't test Grass Island?
South end. On the boat ramp, that's not allowed to drive on the south end.
Yeah, we know where it's talking.
Yeah.
What we're saying, they didn't test up at Grass Island? They didn't test Grass Island?
Oh, yeah, we got to be able to get our drill rig out. Well, we put them on a barge, but we were just able to drive out to these. That's why we went there where we could. This gentleman here had a question a long time.
Thank you. To piggyback on the question over there about the fish, has the Michigan Department of Natural Resources ever been part of any discussion concerning this issue?
Well, I don't know.
I believe when the issue was just the fish, so back in 2012, 2013, when we were talking about that, we did have a conservation officer that was coming to the meetings, but since we have transitioned over to the drinking water, there's been less discussion of wildlife and fish there. Now, when you're asking, Alan, as far as engaging DNR with some of these questions, were there specific areas that you felt that they should be engaging on?
Well, the Michigan Department of Natural Resources puts a lot of time and effort into planting different species of fish into the South River, and that comes out hunting, fishing licenses, and so forth. And I think they should be a part of the conversation. They've got a 3-year program now with the Atlantic salmon, this being the 3rd year of the Atlantic salmon plan. There's 100 other ports that want those fish. If we can't tell them that we feel confident in the quality of our fish that they're putting in the river, they're going to say goodbye and they're going to move on to another port.
Yeah, those migratory fish, there's a limit on them, but it's not based on PFAS and PFOA. It's from, what is it, mercury?
Oh, coming in,
Yeah, those are
coming in from the lake, what we're looking at more is, I believe, mercury and dioxins for those fish.
But to your question, we have been engaging with DNR because we had to get special use permits to go after the muskrat, and we did bird studies out there also. We had to get permits from them, and so I've been talking with DNR on various things, and we're talking to them about harvesting deer out there and stuff. So there's an ongoing conversation with them about various things that where we interface.
We did fish studies too.
No, DNR didn't. Water and.
And the guidelines, the East State Fish guidelines that we issued for Clark's Marsh and the river say that the migratory fish are not affected by the advisory for PFCs.
Did everybody hear that?
Yeah, so if you look at our brochures, you'll see that.
If you look at our brochures or our signs, you'll see that our statement is that the migratory fish are not affected by that do not eat advisory. That we suggest people follow the regular advisory for Lake Huron that they would. That the migratory fish are not affected by the PFC contamination and the do not eat advisories for Clark's Marsh. Oh, yes.
I was wondering if the township fire department has records of when the Air Force has come to help them fight fires, and if they know if they use foam or not. I was telling Paul there was a fire 28 years ago off of Bow Drive, and I don't know if they use foam or if they use just, their tanker truck came, and I don't know if they use foam or just water. So is there any record of when the fire, when the Air Force Base helped out the Ascota Township Fire Department or the area fire departments, whether they use foam or if they just use their water tankers?
I think Bob will answer part of this, but we are looking into that. We're looking into those records. We're also looking into those agreements that the base had at the time with the local community. When this thing at the school came up, that became kind of a priority for us to look into those. And the record should exist back from the base. It'll take some digging into the archives, but we should look into that.
Yeah, well, we've talked to the local fire department and people that have worked with the fire department multiple times. My consultants can correct me, but I don't think they kept records, or if they did, they don't know where they're at. So we don't know which fires. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, if you know the approximate date,
Yeah, I know when it was.
if you could give me that information, I can go to the newspaper and see if there's any record.
Right. Yeah, and the other thing is also, if anybody has information like that, just talk to Denise, the local, and she'll get the information to us too. So, but that's so far the ones we found, like at McDonald store in the north, and the fires over at the school, we found through the media, going back through the old records, old newspapers and stuff like that. So, but.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, when they decided to make fish unsafe in Clark's Marsh, where was the cutoff? What, so many parts per billion, trillion, or what? How'd they come up with it?
I'm sorry, I'm going to need the first end of your
When they came up with the shutdown of eating fish out of Clark's Marsh, where was the cutoff in parts per billion, or how did they come up with any cutoff to stop them from eating fish?
The final fish advice numbers for that is, I believe, at, I think it's 300 parts per billion of PFOS in the fish. And we initially went with a higher level, but we didn't have as much information on PFOS at that time, so we were using it based on provisional values that EPA was using for their, what they call their provisional health advisory number. So they had a different reference dose, a different number that they were aiming for. We used that at the time to develop the fish advisory. So it didn't leave any of Clark's Marsh ponds out of the loop when we went with that higher number. The number went lower, and those places were already closed down. So I believe it was 300 parts per billion. We were getting up to 9,000 and 10,000 parts per billion in fish.
In Vanetton Lake, then, you said there was found in there. What was they found there? How much?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can get that to you. Another place that you can look for that information is on our, if you have internet access, for those of you who do, go to michigan.gov/Wurtsmith, and we have finalized the what we call the health consultation in regard to the fish contamination. So you want to look under the fish contamination section, and it should be the topmost document that will show within that document the concentrations that were found in the fish sampled in the area, and then also the exact screening levels that we use for either do not eat or lessen what you eat.
Well, say Vanetton Lake, or?
For Vanetton Lake, I believe that we had a couple of fish out of Allen Lake, which is to the west of Clark's Marsh. And then we looked at, I'm trying to think of where else. We've got no fish out of Duell Lake, or however that's pronounced, but we do have data that EPA collected for fish in Lake Huron. So that's the information we used as far as the migratory fish that come into the river. And that all that information is in that report, so that will show you that information that we used to make the decision.
Each lake is in there?
Yes. Now, I'll say, not every lake in Iosco County.
No,
Cedar Lake, we didn't sample the fish in there because we don't believe that to be impacted. The lakes that we felt that, and the water bodies that we felt likely to be impacted, where we could get fish from, that's where we got it from. Yes, the materials are on the table. We've got, for the geeks out there, and I know there are a few of you, if you want to look at the data sheets that we actually use when we pull all the data together about fish in a certain water body every year, when we update our Eat Safe Fish materials, you would go to michigan.gov/Eat Safe Fish as one word, and then under reports and science, that has our data sheets, and it will show you the process that we go through to determine what do we have to say about these fish. What do we feel? Is it okay to eat them all the time? Is it better not to eat them at all? Or is it somewhere in between? And that's how we make our decisions. So a lot of materials here, a lot of the same materials and additional materials on the web. Is that a hand up by the window? I'm saving you for the end. Yes.
From everybody that has been up there said that the number one thing we need to address is public health. This is the part that we really need to impact, and I agree with that all the way. But I've heard about the Band-Aids, about getting water, and I understand that that's going to be a long process, millions of dollars, run the pipes, a long time to do that. The problem that I'm having is I don't understand when I'm not hearing a timeline to address the dirt in the ground that is contaminated, to get it out, because in the meantime, while this meeting is going on right now in the end of April, our tourist season is going to be beginning. Our property values are going down, And the Band-Aid is going to be in place for years and years to come. In the meantime, economically, Oscoda is going to suffer again.
Still.
And I don't understand why we're not getting a bigger priority on not putting a Band-Aid on. I understand the public health thing, but there's an economic health thing also that's hitting us hard. Real estate market, go to a realtor and ask them, how many homes have already been turned down? Well, you got a water problem. I'm going to go south now. That is happening. That is a fact. People are not coming here. You see the news media downstate putting Channel 12 had it all over the place. Ossabaw River contaminated. It's like green slime is floating down the river. That impacts our community. We're trying to look to the future, and we're continually getting slammed down, and it's a Band-Aid that's going on. We need legitimate timelines to get rid of this problem once and for all. How do we do that?
I've already stated the timeline for doing the remedial investigation in phase 1 that is addressing the groundwater that is migrating off the base that has potential to impact drinking water wells offsite. That's going to start as soon as we can get the contract awarded, which should be in the next few weeks. We've already got work plans that are being developed. One thing I didn't mention, as part of this water well sampling that we're redoing this summer, our folks at AMEC are sitting back there at the back, and those of you who had your well sampled before by them, they would like you to come back by and give you their information so they can get hold of you easily to resample your well. So, you know, those 2 or 3 things we've got going on, there are some active things that we are doing to address the groundwater here. And that is the fire training area that we've installed a treatment system on. We're upgrading those 2 treatment systems that are discharging into Van Etten Creek that Aaron talked about a while ago. We're doing that this year as well. And we're doing this remedial investigation, this phase 1 remedial investigation. So those are the 3 priorities for this year that we've been working on and we are committed to do.
But I still don't understand how economically now, all that's going to be reported, and our hotels aren't going to fill up. Our restaurants aren't going to have their summer traffic. How do you get that information out there that it's safe to come up here to Oscoda and drink our water? How do we get that out there? I don't hear anything addressing that. All we hear is bad news downstate and how bad it's going to be to come up here.
Well, they love selling the news in the big cities. And I do have a great appreciation for the local newspapers who are actually wanting to get the news out, the story out. But this, I wanted to point back to what Sue was talking about before, as far as this community group. Not only talking about how it is that we can communicate better with the community and the various groups within the community, but also this is exactly what a group like what we're proposing, I think, can brainstorm as far as how do you put the good on this? It is hard to put the good on it, but it can be done. You don't sweep it under the rug. Don't say, oh, well, you know, it's happening, so for us. No, go ahead, have those festivals that get planned every year. We haven't come up to them. You want us to come up to them? We'll be there. We'll go cannonballing into Van Etten Lake. I will go, you know, I'll go drink the water off the base if you need me to do that. I don't eat fish. I will eat fish if I have to. So we will do what it takes from an agency standpoint, and some of us feel it may not be personal, but because I've talked with so many of you, I feel like I've started to develop a relationship with some people here. So I give a damn. Don't quote me.
You got the Air Force saying, you got the Air Force here saying that they don't have to go by the new law, maybe.
I just want to tag on the end of that. Thank you, Chris. You and I spoke earlier tonight, and I brought up some concerns from the constituents who are part of the tourism industry here. And the concerns that were coming to me were just what Mr. Taser mentioned, what you were addressing. It would be really nice if we could get something from an authority, like I said, like the Department of Environmental Quality, Health and Human Services, and say, you know, our water, like put that on your slides. You're saying that the water is safe to touch, safe to get in, and these types of things, because the guys that are running these hotels and their cottages and renting the homes, and even possibly even renting kayaks and jet skis, right? They want to know, they're being asked by people downstate, out of town, before they even come here.
Exactly.
And they want to know how to address that.
Exactly.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to say is really that's an elected official type of challenge. You know, I have my little role, geologist, she's a toxicologist. We have our little roles, but it's those, like you're saying, opinion leaders, people that are elected officials, and you essentially have to work with them because they're experts at that stuff. You know, they have the the economic development people, staff down there, getting other people. We don't lobby legislators. We don't do any of that kind of stuff. That's not even really allowed to do that kind of thing.
Oh,
No, I know what I'm saying. I know you're not saying that. I'm just saying that.
We're saying something from an office that has some credibility.
Right. Yeah, that's her job.
Yeah, I did talk to a couple of people today about our community group, and this is exactly the kind of thing we're wanting to do. And a couple of suggestions we got were a couple of newsletters that we didn't know about. We can easily write up a more positive message for you to post in a newsletter saying, come on, go fishing, go swimming, go kayaking. That's the kind of thing that we can do to help you. But we need to know how we can help you. And
Can the Air Force help us pay for the Pure Michigan ads that say come to Oscoda? We have to pay for that.
Yeah, we do.
You know, and now we have to pay more for that.
Yeah, there are some things that we can do. There are some things that we as the health department can't do. But we are interested in knowing more about what we can do to help you and to bring those concerns that you have to our administrators as well. So please let us.
I've been a volunteer in tourism since I moved here 4 years ago. I'm a realtor in this town. We are coming into our tourist season right now, and that is the lifeblood of this community. You guys have a very important message that you had to put out, and it was to save our population from an entity that is poisoning it. And I understand that, and it needed to get out there. Very bad timing last year. It was just before our tourism season. Now it is again just before our tourism season. And we have a meeting again, and we're being presented with new material, and none of it's good. But solutions are trying to be made. But the people that are coming up here to go kayaking, canoeing on our beach this summer, filling our hotels, wanting to walk the trails on the rollways, look down and say, gee, it doesn't look green. You know, it looks pretty. Well, they also heard your pleas about the water problems. They would also hear, but, you know, there is problems there is PFOAs, whatever, but your skin's not going to fall off if you fall out of your canoe. You're not going to grow a third eye if you happen to drink a little bit of water. So please come up and please canoe. Nothing has changed. We can still eat the fish. We can still go swimming in the Asabo. We can still do all that. And hearing that from the same entities that they heard all the bad stuff from, is going to mean something to the people downstate that are coming out here to spend their money. You know, we as a township should not have to put on PR to promote this. We are not destroying it. It's been destroyed by another entity that we had no control over and didn't know anything about, and now are, right, whatever.
You know what I mean?
We're losing
Maybe it's not going to help anybody feel any better, but there are a lot of areas around Michigan throughout the past decades that have gone through major turnoffs, like pollution and that. I remember swimming in Belleville Lake. Right. Each lake was a different color, and you'd come home with swimmer's itch, and that was from human feces. Right. Not from duck. I mean, even in Van Etten, like, everyone knows that there's a lot of septic waste that comes in, and they were still swimming in there. And like I said, it doesn't help anybody immediately, but in the long term, there are efforts being made, and everybody knows, especially through the Obama administration, everything is dragged out. It's like forever and ever and ever. But there's new hope, and it does take time, and it does take more than just complaining. You know, write the president, write the governor, go on your Facebook and your media.
I will say
But
this,
it
last
takes
year,
time, it will get better. It has
a truck
every
driver
place in
in
Michigan just
Texas
about where there has been major pollution.
got
towns do make
a cut on his
profit.
leg canoeing.
There is
Truck
hope.
driver in Texas. A canoe guy up here lost 12 people in one day because he said he had flesh-eating bacteria. Anybody remember that story last summer? Flesh-eating bacteria, and all of a sudden this guy that's renting canoes is losing out on money because some truck driver in Texas that can't say when he hurt his knee, can't say, all he could say was, oh, 2 weeks ago I was up in Michigan. I was on the Osaka River and I got flesh-eating bacteria. That hurt that business.
Or by the river, you must have gone to Detroit River.
Can I make a point here? Can I just make a point here? I want to address your situation that you're talking about here. I have another hat. Over 30 years I've been an outdoor writer, hunting, fishing, et cetera, and I'm also part of the Michigan Outdoor Writers Association, and I'm the site chair. In other words, I'm the one that determines where we go for our winter and summer activities. This past February, I decided to bring the outdoor writers to the Tawas-Oscoda area for this reason. I didn't say anything because I just did this on my own. I didn't tell them about anything. We fished, steelhead fished the Saddle River, several of us, including myself. Many of us went rabbit hunting or did other things. This also tours went all around the area. That's part of tourism. We worked with Heidi in Tawash. You probably know her. Anybody that's done tourism in this area knows her. We worked like that very, very hard, and we had about 15 writers up here, and that's one way to help the area out that I thought we could at least get them out there, and they will write articles about the area, bring people into this area for other activities. And I will say that people that do a lot of this tourism, they may read some of this stuff, but when it comes to this area of the state, when they enjoy the boating and the fishing and the hunting and whatever, they will come here. We've dealt with them a lot, and by writing articles, that will help. And so at some point in the future, if I get a chance to do that again, I will definitely do that.
Well, I appreciate it. That's great. Any positive note that we can have? And
Well, there was a lot of positive feedback from the writers. Some of them had never been up in this area.
Well, any positive steps that are made in this whole process would be absolutely excellent if it was put out there in a notice, in a bulletin, in a something.
Yeah, that's perfect, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. So we would appreciate your feedback, and any further comments you can provide, just in the absolutely. Did you have something to say?
Oh, I was just saying, something in the form of a PDF document that we talked about? Yeah, sure. Something in the form of a PDF document, like we talked about earlier, so something that can be posted on a website, something that can be printed, something that can be distributed, something that's, like I said before, it has a certain part of the official work to it, but it doesn't have to be signed by the governor and president. Just, the idea that it's something to give to allay the concerns, because if it's something that's created by our Chamber of Commerce as an example, if there's anything wrong with our Chamber of Commerce, but they're not an authority in the area. Thank you very much. I'll give you the mic again. I appreciate it.
No problem.
figuring out those pieces, so thank you. Did we lose anything? No. We didn't lose anything. You had a question?
Question for DHHS, Christine Bush. Intro. The only health assessment conducted at WAFB was by APSDR in 2001. They did not look at historical exposure to USAF veterans and civilians drinking base water before base closure. There's multiple points, so I guess I'll read them all and then come back to them. Contamination of the base drinking water were tested for chlorinated solvents, TCE, PCE, etc., benzene, 1977 to 1993. Camp Lejeune Marine Base had similar contamination, same chemicals, 1960 to 1985. Here's the question. Because VA department has given in 2016 special disability review criteria if vets were stationed 30 days and diagnosed with one of 7 health issues. This is at Camp Lejeune. Why hasn't Wordsmith veterans and civilian exposure data been reviewed by ATSDR and VA department for similar disability review? Can you follow that?
Clear. That's why I'm going with, I'm looking back at the card. Okay, so I think what it's coming down to is, the question is, why hasn't ATSDR, or for that matter, the State Health Department, since we're their arm, looked at the exposure to the vets who were serving back then to see what kind of update it needs, if any update. And I have looked over the 2001 public health assessment to which Arnie is referring, and the way that was put together, and you can go to this document, it's on our Wordsmith webpage. The ATSDR calculated what they felt were the likely doses that people were drinking over time, based on which system within the base they were getting their water from, because apparently it was from several wells on base. And they calculated the dose, and then they compared it to the number that they had for TCE, which was the critical contaminant at that time. So I've looked at that recently and have noticed that the number that they compared, the ATSDR number that they used for comparison, was meant for what we call intermediate exposure, which is considered to be, as defined by ATSDR, from greater than 2 weeks to a year. Why didn't they use one for long-term exposure? Because they didn't have a number back then in 2001. They have that number now. It is 40 times lower than that. And all the exposure doses, nearly all of them, exceed that. So instead of saying that there was probably or possibly a public health hazard on base at that time, my thought is that there was a public health hazard on base at that time. So that needs to be documented, and then it becomes a public document. And then what happens from there, I don't know, because and I don't think ATSDR can influence what the VA does. The VA is a government agency, and therefore the government that is by the people, for the people, may need to hear from the people as far as what that means. So that might be the way that that would move forward as far as the review. Would you like a mic to help?
Can you put that in writing, what you just simply said? So that, because I agree with you, the VA doesn't answer to the TSDR. However, with that analysis, so you're basically bringing it up. For wordsmith contamination, you bring the review up to the same standards that we use for the Camp Lejeune review.
Right, the Camp Lejeune review was extremely complicated, and they did do modeling of the well water that was serving the camp so they could determine fairly scientifically, although that doesn't mean that that was the dose, but with a strong support of that could have been the dose that the Camp Lejeune occupants were receiving. And then the VA used that information to make the determinations that they did. So I'm hoping that what we can do is a much simpler sort of situation, and I agree with you, Arnie, that it does need to be in writing. It's not just me saying this and then being on the MIC TV later. It probably does need to be in writing so that it's on cellulose, different type of cellulose. So then, you know, that's just something that I've been discussing actually within the past couple of weeks within our office. And if anybody wants to hire a toxicologist, I'm out of a job next week. I'll submit my CV.
We come as a team.
Toxicologist, geologist, and gravel melter. Tony.
Yeah. My question is, you talk about...
the mic so that people can hear.
My question is this: we have a place on Bennett Lake, and people in the summertime will want to come up, and we're going to be getting questions just like people are talking about, bringing little kids and bringing their pets, and they're going to say, okay, well, you've got a system, so the water is okay to drink, but when my little kid goes out on the beach or he starts, you know, jumping in the water, it's going to be down the hatch. There's just no way to prevent that. What are the levels in the water? And what do I say to them? The dogs are going to go in the water. They're going to drink it. That's just a practical thing we will address.
Yeah, that's certainly a good question because, yeah, sometimes you do get a little bit of a gulp when you're doing some serious splashing around. That is not considered drinking water, is not considered a drinking water exposure, it's just considered incidental. And the volume of that would be very small, plus the concentrations that we are seeing in the lake are rather low too. What have we been seeing kind of overall in the lake now?
I think like at the dam, where's Dora? Something like 30 parts per trillion total, something like that. Now there are all, but that's integrating all the water from the whole lake. So on the west side, where those plumes are going in, we found some fairly high levels in some of the seeps. But on the east side, we haven't seen anything very high. But I think it's something that's valid that we're going to be out on the water this spring anyway. So I think we'll just grab a bunch more on the east side too, to demonstrate that that side's certainly safe and try and get more data along there. But yeah, other than the one seep, everything's been pretty darn well.
I was just going to say, Bob, wasn't that taken in the winter time when the water was low, when you got that higher concentration?
Right, but we don't know that would, you know, the one.
Yeah, we don't know if it would repeat.
Yeah, we don't know if it would repeat in the summer or not.
Right, or if it would be lower.
But what we do is we take GPS locations, so we know exactly where we got the sample. We can always link back to the exact same spot to check. And that's one of the questions: the seasonality of these plumes. Are they going into the lake a lot at certain times, and other times they're overflowing? So that's a lot of dynamics we don't understand yet.
And then, as far as the dogs drinking the water too, people have asked about pets and their exposure, or if they're using trail animals and they're having a slurp from the river or stream or whatever. I think our pets were generally going to water them from the same source of water that we use. So the occasional drink from and this is from somebody who's dealing with human toxicology, not so much animal toxicology. But I think it would be along the same line as that it's not a normal exposure. One of the things I do want to point out, though, is I know that the lake sometimes gets algae blooms. So that's something to be aware of because certain algae have a toxin that when dogs get wet and then they lick themselves off afterwards, kills them. That I don't want to happen. So just be aware of the lake conditions. I don't know if the Nets Lake gets those types of algae.
Yes.
Did they do? Okay. So then being aware of the lake conditions, if knowing that an algae bloom has happened recently, just prevent the dog from going in there. There are no hands in the air. Not that I'm encouraging. Do you want to go to?
Are you ready to close? Are we all tired? Well, once again, we greatly appreciate you being here, sharing all of your comments and concerns, even, as I said, those things if we don't want to hear, we do want to hear them. Consider dropping us email if you don't want to be part of the meeting group, because you have an idea. You have a Christmas card, the first one line out, probably not. Drop us an email and say, hey, I have an idea. We won't hear it. We want to do something more formal. We'll be back, I'm sure, at some point for probably another 4-hour meeting, as long as you're in the. So thank you again.